Welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be taking a look at RFID.
Ooh, fun.
I know, I'm excited too. And I think this is one of those technologies that a lot of us encounter every day without even realizing it. You know those little tags you see sometimes on products?
Mm,
Turns out there's a lot more to them than meets the eye.
absolutely. RFID is so much more than just like those anti-theft tags you see at clothing stores. It really is about making a smarter, more connected world.
Okay, well, I am ready to get my mind blown. So you mentioned smarter and more connected.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking, okay, like I've got my Easy Pass for tolls. My dog is microchipped, just in case. I'm pretty sure RFID is the reason that self-checkout thing can magically scan all my groceries at once.
Yeah, those are great examples.
But what else is out there?
You've barely scratched the surface.
Oh no.
Yeah. Think about things like being able to track a shipment of vaccines across continents and making sure they stay at the right temperature the whole way. Or a car manufacturer instantly knowing which parts are needed on the assembly line before they even run out. That's the power of RFID.
Okay, now you're talking. So give me the rundown. How does this stuff actually work? I mean, to me, it's just magic.
Well, it's not magic,
Hmm.
but it's pretty close. Let's start with the basics. RFID stands for Radio Frequency Identification, and it uses electromagnetic fields to automatically identify and track tags that are attached to objects, and each tag contains electronically stored information that can be read by an RFID reader.
Okay, so it's kind of like a supercharged barcode that doesn't need to be scanned individually.
Exactly. Imagine you have a warehouse with thousands of items. Instead of scanning each barcode by hand, an RFID reader can instantly capture data from all the tagged items within its range. It's like taking a digital snapshot of your entire inventory in seconds.
That's impressive. So let's break it down even a little bit further. What are these tags actually made of? I mean, are they all the same?
That's a great question. There are actually two main types of RFID tags, passive and active. Passive tags are the most common, and they're powered by the radio waves emitted by the reader. So think about those anti-theft tags you see in clothing, or the tags used to track library books. They're simple, inexpensive, and they have a relatively short read range.
Okay, and what about active tags?
Active tags have their own internal power source, usually a battery, which gives them a longer read range and allows them to store more data. These are typically used for applications that require real-time tracking, like monitoring the location of trucks in a fleet, or tracking valuable assets in a hospital.
So it's like the tags themselves have different levels of smartness depending on what they need to do.
Precisely. And then you have the reader, which is equally important. Think of it as the brains of the operation. It sends out radio waves that activate the tags, prompting them to transmit their unique information back to the reader. Then this information is passed on to a computer system where it can be processed and analyzed.
Okay, and that's where the data processing system comes in. So what does that actually involve?
Well, it's all about making sense of the raw data that's been collected by the readers. So imagine a company is tracking shipments with RFID. The data processing system takes the location information from the tags and integrates it with other data, like weather conditions, traffic patterns, and even the driver's schedule.
So it's not just about knowing where something is, it's about using that information to make better decisions.
Exactly. The data processing system can generate alerts. If a shipment is delayed, it can optimize delivery routes and even predict potential problems before they arise. It's all about turning raw data into actionable insights.
This is starting to sound like a sci-fi movie,
Right.
but I can already see how powerful this would be for businesses.
Oh, the possibilities are pretty much endless. And we're just getting started.
Okay, I'm officially hooked. But before we get too carried away with the future, I want to understand how RFID is already changing the game for businesses today, especially when it comes to managing their supply chains.
That's a great point. Let's delve into that next. So, where were we?
Last time we talked about the different types of tags and how they work, but now I want to see these things in action. Let's start with warehouses. You know those massive hubs where products come and go. How is RFID changing the game there?
Okay, so imagine this. You have a company like Amazon, and they receive thousands of products every day. Instead of employees manually scanning each item, they have RFID readers at the loading dock that automatically register everything as it comes in, and this data instantly updates their inventory system so they know exactly what they have down to the last unit.
Wow, so no more miscounts or lost items hiding in a corner somewhere. But what about actually finding things in these giant warehouses?
That's where RFID really shines. Think about those little robots you see zipping around Amazon's fulfillment centers. Well, they're guided by RFID, allowing them to locate any item with pinpoint accuracy, no matter how small or how deeply it's buried in the warehouse.
So RFID is like It's making these warehouses incredibly efficient. But what about when the product leaves the warehouse? I imagine RFID plays a big role in transportation and logistics as well, right?
Absolutely. It's like giving every shipment a digital guardian angel. So let's say you're shipping a truckload of pharmaceuticals that require strict temperature control. RFID sensors can constantly monitor the temperature inside the truck and send alerts if it goes outside the acceptable range. This helps prevent spoilage and ensures patient safety.
That's incredible. So it's like having a real-time view
Mm-hmm.
into the entire journey of a shipment.
Exactly. And it's not just about temperature. RFID can also track the location of a shipment, monitor for any tampering or unauthorized access, and even estimate the delivery time with remarkable accuracy.
So it's about safety, security, and efficiency, all rolled into one. I mean, this is going to be a huge advantage for companies that need to keep track of their goods, especially across long distances.
Absolutely. And the benefits extend all the way to the retail store. Think about those self-checkout kiosks we were talking about earlier. They use RFID to scan all your items at once. No need to individually scan each barcode. Makes shopping faster and easier for everyone.
Oh, I love those self-checkout kiosks. But I bet there's even more going on behind the scenes that shoppers don't even realize.
You're right. RFID is helping retailers understand shopping behavior in ways that were never possible before. For example, they can track how customers move through the store, which displays they interact with, and even how long they spend looking at a particular product.
That's fascinating. It's like having a digital map of customer behavior.
Exactly. And retailers can use this data to optimize store layouts, personalize product recommendations, and create more engaging shopping experiences. They can even use RFID to track inventory levels in real time so that popular items are always in stock.
So RFID is changing the retail game for both businesses and consumers. It's making shopping more convenient, more personalized, and more efficient.
Precisely. And again, we're just scratching the surface of what's possible. RFID is evolving rapidly, and we're seeing some truly exciting developments on the horizon.
Okay, so I can't wait to hear about the future of RFID.
Yeah.
But before we get there, let's switch gears for a moment and talk about a different side of this technology,
Yeah.
the potential downsides.
That's a good point. It's important to consider all aspects of RFID, including the challenges and concerns. Shall we delve into that next?
We've spent the last 2 parts of this deep dive talking about all the cool things RFID can do,
Yeah, it's pretty amazing technology.
like revolutionizing warehouses
Yeah,
or speeding up checkout lines.
right. But like any powerful technology, there are some valid concerns that we need to think about.
Exactly. And it's important to talk about these things openly,
Yeah,
even if they're a little uncomfortable.
I agree.
Yeah.
Let's start with something that I know is on a lot of people's minds. Privacy.
Yeah.
If RFID tags are like embedded in everything, could someone use them to track our every move?
That's a big one. I know I wouldn't be thrilled if someone was monitoring my shopping habits or knowing exactly where I was all the time without my permission.
Yeah. And that's where things get kind of tricky. I mean, the technology itself is neutral, but it's how it's used that really determines whether it's a force for good or something more invasive.
So how do we ensure
Yeah.
that RFID is used responsibly and that our privacy is protected?
Well, I think transparency is key. Companies need to be upfront about how they're using RFID and what data they're collecting. Consumers should have the right to know if their purchases or movements are being tracked, and they should be able to opt out if they choose.
So it's all about having control over your own information.
Exactly. And I think there's also a role for regulation here. Governments need to establish clear guidelines for the ethical use of RFID, especially when it comes to personal data.
That makes sense. Data security is another big concern too, right? I mean, what's to stop someone from hacking into these systems and stealing sensitive information?
You're hitting on another really crucial point. RFID systems, like any digital technology, are vulnerable to cyber attacks. Imagine someone remotely accessing the data on your RFID-enabled credit card or passport.
Okay, that's a nightmare scenario.
It is, which is why robust security measures are absolutely essential. Companies need to invest in things like encryption, authentication protocols, and other safeguards to protect RFID data from unauthorized access.
So it's like a constant race between the good guys and the bad guys,
Yeah.
trying to stay one step ahead of the hackers.
In a way, yes, but I am optimistic that with the right precautions and a focus on ethical implementation, we can harness the power of RFID while minimizing the risks.
I hope so. It would be a shame to miss out on all the benefits of this technology because of security concerns.
I agree. And It's not just about preventing negative outcomes. It's about using RFID in a way that actively promotes fairness and equity.
So what do you mean by that?
Okay, let's go back to the retail example. Imagine a store using RFID to track customer behavior and offer personalized discounts. Sounds good in theory, right?
Yeah. But what if the system, even unintentionally, ends up discriminating against certain groups?
That's a really important point. Like if the system decides to offer fewer discounts to people in a certain neighborhood or demographic group.
Exactly. We need to be very mindful of potential biases in these systems
Yeah.
and make sure that they're designed to treat everyone fairly.
It sounds like there's a lot to consider. As RFID becomes more and more widespread,
There is. But I do believe these challenges are surmountable. The key is to have these open and honest conversations about the ethical implications of RFID and to involve a wide range of stakeholders in shaping its future.
well, that makes a lot of sense. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one big takeaway you want our listeners to remember about RFID?
RFID has the potential to transform our world in countless positive ways, but it's up to all of us, businesses, policymakers, and individuals, to ensure that it's used responsibly and ethically.
I think that's a great point to end on. I know I'll be looking at those little RFID tags with a whole new perspective now.
Me too. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of RFID. We hope you found it informative and thought-provoking.
We encourage you to continue learning about this transformative technology and to engage in the ongoing conversation about its impact on our lives.